I thought that the best way to celebrate the first day of 2025 would be to make this luxurious chocolate mousse cake with the chocolate sponge soft as a pillow, tender and moist, the chocolate mousse light as air, and the smooth, creamy chocolate glaze. Every bite is the epitome of celebration. Let's get cracking. You'll preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Here, first in a bowl, we'll bloom the cocoa powder. So, in this bowl, I've taken some cocoa powder and some instant coffee powder. And into that, I'm going to add some boiling hot milk. Now, whenever you add a boiling hot liquid like water or milk or coffee into cocoa powder, it blooms the cocoa powder, which essentially means that your cocoa powder will taste even better and more chocolatey. So I love doing that with some boiling hot milk. Adding the instant coffee powder just enhances the flavor of the chocolate, brings out the chocolate notes in this cocoa powder, and it does not taste of coffee in any way. So once you've added the hot boiling milk, just give it a good whisk. There will be a few lumpy bits in there formed from the cocoa powder, but that's okay. Just whisk as best as you can. Scrape the sides and the bottom with your spatula. Keep it aside because it needs to cool down before we add it to the rest of the batter. And as that cools down, we'll work on the rest of the steps to make this chocolate cake batter. So here I'm sifting in all of my dry ingredients, which essentially includes all-purpose flour or plain flour, baking powder, baking soda, and some salt. Once you've sifted it, keep it aside and then start creaming your butter and sugar together. I've used softened room temperature salted butter because I love the flavor of salted butter, but you can use unsalted butter if you wish. With your electric beaters on a medium speed, just mix it for about 30 seconds till the butter has smoothed out, and then you'll just scrape the sides and the bottom. You'll add your caster sugar and mix this for about 2 minutes till it is nice and fluffy and smooth like this. Then you'll scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl. Then you'll add in your vanilla extract and you'll go back in for another 2 minutes with your electric beaters on a medium speed. So you've been essentially creaming your butter and sugar for about 4 minutes at this stage. And once you've done that, you'll crack in an egg, which is at room temperature, and you'll just scrape the sides and the bottom of the bowl once more because you want to make sure everything is in the center and you want to make sure that all ingredients are combined really well. And then go in with your electric beaters again on a medium speed for about a minute till the egg completely incorporates into the batter and also incorporates a tiny amount of air as well. Now you'll pour in your cool chocolate mix over here. Now you can see a few lumpy bits in there, but you have nothing to worry about. When you go back in with your electric beaters, now it's going to be a nice, smooth, homogeneous cake batter. So with your electric beaters, first on the low speed, just mix it for about 30 seconds and then increase the speed to medium for another 30 seconds. You want to go in with the lower speed first, otherwise the liquid will just splatter everywhere. Now scrape down the sides and the bottom of the bowl once more and then dump in the sifted dry ingredients in there. Gently fold in with your spatula first just to make sure that the dry ingredients are getting a little bit hydrated with the wet ingredients in this cake batter. Otherwise, when you go in with your electric beaters, the dry ingredients will just fly all over the place and you don't want that. Mix it on the lower speed setting only for about 10 to 15 seconds until it just starts to come together. You want to be very, very sure that you don't overmix it. You don't want to develop the gluten in the cake batter. Pour this into a loose bottom 8-inch cake tin that you've greased really well with some oil or butter, and you've lined the bottom with parchment paper. This will help you release the cake really easily once we are ready to unmold our chocolate mousse cake. So once you've added the chocolate cake batter, just use your offset spatula to spread it around evenly. And this will go in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 25 minutes. A skewer or a knife inserted in the center should come out clean. Then you're just going to take the cake tin out of the oven and let it cool down completely while we work on our chocolate mousse. For the chocolate mousse now, I'm going to use a mix of semi-sweet chocolate and milk chocolate because I feel that for this chocolate mousse, it just provides the right balance of flavors when we use a mix of these two chocolates. I'll bring them to room temperature and I'll chop them into rough chunks like this and plop it into my microwave safe bowl. And I'll melt both the semi-sweet and the milk chocolate in one bowl itself. So I'll just chop them in rough chunks like this, plop them into my microwave safe bowl, and I'll pop that into the microwave at 15 to 20-second intervals until the chocolates are really well melted and combined. Now you can also do this over a double boiler. We will be using that a little bit later in this recipe anyways, so you can do that if you wish. But personally, for melting the chocolates, I just feel a microwave comes in really handy, so I've used a microwave to melt the chocolates. Now you can see that both the milk and the semi-sweet chocolate have melted really well, and the residual heat will continue to melt the remaining tinier chunks of the chocolate. So I'll keep this aside to let it cool down. And while the chocolate cools down, we'll start separating our eggs. So I use 2 full eggs, and a quick tip here to get the best results to separate them is to separate the whites from the yolks while the egg is still cold. I find that when I do this, it is very easy to separate them. When they are at room temperature, the yolks can break. I also like to use my clean hands to separate the whites and the yolks. You can use a method that works for you. And you do want to start working with the yolks first, because otherwise I find that the yolks develop a little film on top and it becomes very difficult to then make it into a smooth mix. It will have those yolk chunks and we don't want that at all. So let's work with the yolks first. I've added some castor sugar in there and I'll start whisking it till it breaks down and combines like this. Now we will place this bowl over a saucepan of simmering water. It's very important that the water is not filled to the brim. We don't want the water to directly be in contact with the base of the bowl. It is the steam that comes out from the simmering water that we want to cook the egg yolks so that they don't curdle and it just gently heats up. You will continue whisking as the steam from the water starts to gently cook the yolks and the sugar mix, and you'll keep whisking till it goes really pale like this and it has these ribbons that it falls into. Then you will gently take it off the heat and continue whisking a little bit more to bring it down to room temperature or closer to room temperature. When both the melted chocolate and the yolks are at a similar temperature, you don't have to be exact, but when you touch the bowl, you'll know that they are at similar temperature, which is closer to room temperature. You will pour in a little bit of the chocolate first into the yolks and just mix it well. And then you'll add the rest of the melted chocolate and whisk, and then you're going to swap your whisk for a spatula and just mix everything together. At this stage, it does not look very appetizing and you may wonder that you've done something wrong. I promise you, you haven't. You're just going to leave this to the side while we work on our egg whites. I'll add a little pinch of salt to the egg whites, and first on a low speed of my electric beaters, I'll mix it for about 30 seconds till we wake up the egg whites and they'll start to get foamy like this. Then I'll turn up the electric beaters to a medium speed and continue whipping this for another maybe 2.5 minutes until it achieves stiff peaks like this. It will look very foamy. You want it to be at stiff peaks at this point. Then you'll add a little bit of that chocolate mix that does not look like it's going to come together, but once you add it into the egg whites and whisk it, it does in fact beautifully come together. So you'll add it in little installments and keep whisking, and you can see it has formed this amazing chocolate ribbon like consistency. You'll keep that aside, and then you'll take some chilled whipping cream which has at least 35% fat content, and you'll start whipping this on a medium speed. You do not want to whip this on a high speed or it can get over whipped and you don't want that. What you want is to achieve peaks that are somewhere between soft and stiff. So when you lift your beaters, the peak just falls over. You'll add a little dollop which will act as a sacrificial cream because you're going to whisk this into this mousse to loosen up the mousse right here. And once you've done that, you'll then start folding in the rest of the whipped cream gently into this chocolate mousse till it becomes beautiful, light and airy. And that's just how easy it is to make your chocolate mousse. Now, once your chocolate mousse is ready, we are ready to assemble our chocolate mousse cake. So first, we will place our loose bottom cake tin on a tall glass and unmold this cake. And then I will just take the top off with a sharp serrated knife because I want the cake to be leveled. And so I'll just roughly take the top off. You don't have to be exact here. You'll just take that slight dome off, and then you'll put the cake ring back on like this. Now you'll add in all of that beautiful, airy, light chocolate mousse that you've just made. You'll shuffle the cake tin around so that it spreads out evenly, and then you'll use an offset spatula to smooth this out as best as you can. And once you've done that, you will plop this in the refrigerator overnight to help the mousse set very well. The next day, about half an hour before you're ready to serve, you'll make your chocolate glaze. So you'll take cream and chocolate in a microwave safe bowl and heat it at 15 to 20-second intervals until it gets completely melted and well combined like this. It will look thick, glossy and shiny, and that is going to add such a beautiful flavor to your chocolate mousse cake. Now once your glaze is ready, you let it sit at room temperature for about 5 to 10 minutes because it will be pretty warm. So let it sit for some time, and then you will pour this onto your cooled and set mousse cake. Once you've added that, you'll also use your offset spatula to spread it around and make sure that it's as even as possible. And then once you are happy with how that looks, you will place this back in the refrigerator for about 15 to 20 minutes. You just want that chocolate glaze to really set before you are ready to serve the cake. I will place this on a tall glass and then gently but firmly push the ring down, and you have your chocolate mousse cake in all its glory right here, perfect for any celebration. The cake itself is so tender and moist, and then you get this light and airy mousse that literally tastes like you're eating chocolate flavored air, and that is combined with the creamy glaze on top. I want you to pay special attention to the texture of the mousse. You can see how light and airy that is. It is such a perfect cake for any celebration. And speaking of celebrations, you should definitely check out this classic vanilla cake. It may look simple, but you'll be surprised by the punch of flavor, especially the frosting that tastes exactly like vanilla ice cream. Click the video you see on the screen to check it out. Enjoy!